You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Now the number one sports podcast network in the world with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you as we are looking ahead to Red Raiders and Horned Frogs from United Supermarkets Arena Senior Night style. Going to be a good party. Hope to see everybody out at the USA. But as we bide our time, wanted to get your thoughts on a question that I've been considering, cussing, and discussing, texting back and forth with some Matador mobsters this week regarding life after JT Toppin and what we have seen develop as far as Texas Tech depth. I think I've even asked you this week, are we actually a deep team now? To which I believe you affirmed, and we're seeing some of this when you're talking about 6 double-digit scores. What else do you call it? Still a small sample size, but we're seeing some guys off of the bench and some bench impact in ways that we certainly didn't see prior. I view it one way, some others view it other ways, and I want to get your thoughts on maybe a closer to the situation feel, because I do think there was some sort of natural progress or progression that was sort of in the works when it comes to some of these guys just simply getting healthier that you had not had available, and that was going to be happening regardless of the news with JT Toppin. Some of this also, though, in light of that injury, maybe being spurred on simply by opportunity being available for these guys. And this made it even a little bit more interesting, I think, because of some recent comments that you referenced on a recent episode from head coach Grant McCaslin, involving, in essence, just how much of a load he was asking some guys to carry toward the latter stages of this season. I think most of us know the story as far as the rotation and what those numbers have involved. So is this some type of natural progression as far as some of this depth, some of the bench impact and the names that are now contributing? Or is this something maybe newfound only as a result of that news and having to deal with a big absence now with JT Toppin sidelined? What do you make of it?
Yeah, I guess I'm just of the opinion of that if had JT not gotten hurt, I think things would have largely stayed the same in riding him for 35 to 40 minutes a night. Look, he's had no really issue with playing that many minutes. He's been very productive. His statistically is going to end up being better this year than he was last year when he won a Big 12 Player of the Year. And I don't think he was looking for like minutes sitting on the bench. I think he was in some ways your loudest voice in those huddles. I think his jaw was locked on wanting to win and trying to, do some different things. And so I guess what we're asking here is, would we have learned more about Luke Bamboye or Josiah Mosley or Mariel or whatever, and would we have seen some of this had JT not gotten hurt? I'm going to answer probably not. I think maybe some flashes, but I don't know if we would have seen what maybe they're currently doing, and then maybe how far can they take it. Just because I just think I think Grant's sitting over there going, okay, we're investing this much money into this player. He's damn good. So yeah, I've got guys that haven't been through a full fall training camp and a non-conference, and we're going to throw them into some of this stuff. I think that whether you call it a crutch or whether you call it a smart coaching move or whatever, but I kind of thought when Mosley, they pull his red shirt and decide to play him, it has taken us a bit to get to this point of seeing him, and now it's just out of necessity as much as anything. But he wasn't playing a ton of minutes when JT was still healthy, and then he was healthy. He just wasn't being inserted in there, and we kind of explained, well, they haven't like cross trained him, they haven't taught him multiple positions yet. We're trying to go a bit slower because like he didn't even play against West Virginia, right? And I think you and I thought that this one and again you won the game and I don't think the kid was pissed or it's just kind of one of those deals. The one thing that could have dictated a different answer here is if there would have had been repeated foul trouble and you were forced to like get into your depth and whatnot. But I just think if JT's here, I don't know if we're seeing some of this. And that includes Luke Mamboye too. You know, Josiah Mosley in the last 3 games is averaging 17 minutes per. These minutes wouldn't have been there. And he played and he look what he did in just 22 minutes versus Iowa State. So let's and maybe we won't get it, but what does that look like if he were to play like 30 plus? You know, I mean, I don't know because it was pretty damn impressive in Ames, Iowa, with what he was able to do in just 22 minutes of play. Luke Mamboye's issue is, I think you've got some productive minutes because in the last, I think 5 games, he's averaging like 19 minutes a game. Part of his problem is the foul trouble. He's kind of constantly battling that, having to play in foul trouble, trying to play without fouling, and his minutes are limited because of some of the foul issues that he's had. But this is out of necessity too. There's probably been times before where if he picks up a second or third foul, you may have not seen him much else. If you had JT still in the mix, you could have leaned on some different things. Anyway, I guess my point is that I just don't know if you really would have gotten into this near as much just because the time of the year that you're in and you don't have the luxury of experimenting. And I mean, you're playing for a seed line, man. I mean, it's kind of like it's a semi-close analogy here. The Dallas Cowboys are in the midst of a negotiation with their kicker, Brandon Aubrey. There's some discrepancy on what he's going to be paid. There are some in the Dallas market that say it's a crutch. You call plays and you lean on him when you get across the 50 because he can attempt it from 60 plus. And so like what happens if you don't have him? Could it unleash the offense even more, things like that. And yet if you have him, it's like, well, but we do have him. He can make 62-yard field goals in a normal fashion. So I just think this is very similar in that I just think if you have JT Toppin healthy, I mean, you're gonna ride that horse, man. And you, in a way, kind of be crazy not to. Kind of like the kicking situation. And it's like, well, I mean, so I'm just supposed to ignore it, like, and so that at the expense of potentially Luke Mamboye and Josiah Mosley, like extended minutes. So I don't know if we'll ever truly know the answer there, but I think you're seeing some things that you probably wouldn't have seen otherwise, in my opinion.
I understand the comparison, but I bristle at the notion that my Big 12 Player of the Year can be compared to a kicker in any context whatsoever. I just want to go ahead and file that.
Touche. Yeah, that's very fair.
Toppin when he grows up.
Very fair criticism.
Yeah, I got to shout out my guy John and the mob just to sort of give you a feel of how the conversation goes, because I think not only me with John and some others, and maybe all of us just in our minds kind of trying to work out what we're seeing here. We've talked about it on some episodes. Like, are you a better team? Are you more well-rounded? How do you sort of find the right way to describe what still looks really, really good on the other side of losing a really, really good individual player? John texted me this yesterday saying, "We are now a better team. I will die on this hill." First, today's episode brought to you by Robinhood. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action, so when momentum shifts, you can move with it. Always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator, play-by-play. You decide. Trade every play with Robinhood. Now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now To begin, futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm. Today's episode brought to you by Open Door Financial. And if you're a Red Raider balancing family and career this time of year, you're probably assessing the year gone by, forecasting for the future, and whether it's retirement, getting out of debt, leaving a legacy for your kids, or more. Here's the thing, Open Door Financial is the one that's doing it the way that's best suited for you and your family's interests. Most advisors trying to sell something hit quotas, only working with clients with huge investment minimums, but that's not how they do it at Open Door Financial Advisors. And Chris, even better, it's a Red Raider that you're going to be talking with. Founded by a 2007 Texas Tech grad right here in Lubbock, and now over a decade and a half spent helping Red Raiders.
Yeah, Cowan, Derek lives in Lubbock. He's buying pizzas for the campers out there for before these football and basketball games, things like that. He gives back. He's a trusted Texas Tech guy. I know that so many people out there, whatever they're trying to do, they want to do business with fellow Red Raiders. This is your man. So, Derek Finley, phenomenal guy you can trust. And it doesn't matter if you're flush and trying to figure out what to do with it, or if you're just trying to budget and trying to get out of debt, anything in between, he's your guy. He will take care of you and get you pointed in the right direction.
That's right. Over a decade and a half serving Red Raider families across the country, one simple mission, helping you gain financial freedom and peace of mind, no matter where you are starting from. And it's a subscription-based fee-only model, so never earning commissions on anything they're selling you, which means no hidden agendas, no investment minimums, only straightforward advice, all while living by West Texas values, truth, and grit. So if you're ready to work toward financial freedom, visit opendoorfa.com, opendoorfa.com to connect with Open Door Financial Advisors, honest guidance for Red Raider families who want to take care of what matters most. John texted me this yesterday saying, "We are now a better team. I will die on this hill." He says, "We would have never seen this year anything but tight rotations, now forced to play. Otherwise, the sum of parts is greater than JT in a tight rotation." That just one angle on what we're describing. Not that you or I would see it necessarily exactly that way, but I know there are a lot that are asking themselves that same kind of question, and I get what he's saying.
I appreciate the opinion and the passion and all that. I would probably disagree with that. Yeah,
as in it being the choice that like the tight rotation has got to stay. Is that what kind of differentiates that? I guess.
Yeah, because I'm not. That's the thing is like I as I've said, I think we are seeing things we probably wouldn't have seen. But here's the thing. Had you kept it like it was and JT stays healthy, you had buttons to push with foul trouble and some things like that you could have seen it. You could have seen some performances and some depth that benefited you when it gets to the tournament but like you're not. Are you just? I guess I would ask John. Are you beating Arizona without JT Toppin? Because that's what I hear you saying. You're saying he wouldn't have mattered, that you would have gone into Tucson and won without him. Not the game that I saw.
I'm trying to figure out where the other 31-13 comes from, but maybe if I thought longer.
Not that I saw. And I'm not trying to. I'm just saying, and I get what John would be suggesting, because here's the one thing that I was very curious about that is still in place, because you're not necessarily replacing the points and the rebounds, but what has maintained is that you're still being able to get open looks from three and knocking those down. We credited JT a lot with that, the way that you were being defended, the way he could pass out of double teams, the way the floor could be spaced because of teams and how they wanted to defend him, and you made teams pay. You are still figuring out ways to make teams pay and still getting some of those looks. So that is still in place.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I still think we have a ways to go to kind of, because whether you go, you won 2 home games you were probably supposed to win, and you got your sea legs under you, and this is really what you're going to judge everybody on was Iowa State. And Iowa State struggles to score. I think they're struggling in general, and they have a kind of a weird dynamic with their team right now. But let's just see what this looks like, the rest of the way. And it's probably a good conversation to continue to have.
Yeah.
But I can't for the life of me. I refuse to believe that you would be like, that I would feel comfortable saying you're much better without JT Toppin than with
better at all. I'm not saying.
I just can't. I can't go that route.
I've thought maybe I've been too hardline and not open to new information, but I've just continued to text back in response to most of those kinds of thoughts. I would rather have the team with JT Toppin available than not, whatever that could be described as.
And I'm not saying you can't reinvent, and that this could be a great story. And I think JT's still very much a part of this team in his own way, with some of the leadership and some of just being around and all the things. And I also think that this is what we'll never know. What does this team look like, and what would they have been capable of if you don't deal with any of these injuries? What if Grant has this group healthy from the jump? How different does this thing get played out? Because I think that you had to lean heavily on JT initially because there was no Mosley. There was no Bamboye. There were, Tyree Bryan missed some time. I mean, you had to lean on this guy, and he delivered. And yet I just wonder what the rotation, the depth, the development of the whole team in its entirety would have looked like if you have everybody from the jump. Does that Illinois game play out differently? Does the Purdue game play out differently? I don't know, because sometimes that a tighter rotation in some ways can benefit you because it limits a coach's ability to screw it up.
Yeah, tinkering too much, too many buttons and levers.
Yes, and I think in some ways you were limited, which wasn't necessarily a bad thing. And now you've got more depth, which it's out of necessity, and there's not any no-brainer choices like these guys all need to be playing here. There's not like a one that, and that could go for Jeff Linder. It's like, let's keep calling the pick and roll. Guess what? It seems to be working. There's a point guard out there that knows how to do it,
I really feel like the point you made is probably the one to take home from this conversation, in that you're still doing what you were doing in a sort of similar way, the pick your poison angle, because you are something that has to be accounted for near the rim, which is opening up opportunity on the outside, and you're taking advantage of it. So that dynamic's sort of still alive, not the same as it would be with JT Toppin, but something you made a lot of hay with to this point in the season and have continued to do so. And we're hoping for more. Before we get out of here real quick, Chris, as we head into the final go-around at United Supermarkets Arena, just curious what's on the line as we know it this afternoon. San Diego being discussed, 4 seed being discussed. What are we making of the latest, I guess, as we search for destinations?
Yeah, that's what I've been flooded with this morning as I saw Joe Lunardi. You could pick your favorite bracketologist. There's a million outlets. I would encourage people to go to let's see here, bracketmatrix.com. That's a collection of everybody that's got a bracket. It kind of combines them all. They've got the Red Raiders as a 3 seed, but most high profile is the Joe Lunardi bracketology, and he's probably, him or Jerry Palm of CBS have probably been the mostly accurate. But fascinating that in the latest update, which came out this morning, has the Red Raiders and the SFA Lumberjacks in San Diego. Okay, so initially I think, rematch of an opening game in the American Airlines Center in Dallas, Texas from several years ago when you went to the Elite Eight, I believe it was. But this one is most interesting because this is Grant McCasland against one of your lead assistant coaches from last year, Matt Breyer, who is going to lead the Lumberjacks to, I think, the Southland Conference Championship. I think they won the regular season. They probably need to go win the tournament. That would be quite the storyline for the for an opening round game out in San Diego. And I believe this is the same arena that you beat. Oh, did you beat like one of these directional schools from Kentucky? Maybe no, maybe it was like one of the Dakotas.
Was that the 360 dunk that didn't count?
Yes, by Malik Wilson. Malik Wilson. Shout out. Shouts to Malik Wilson, who then transferred to Houston because
that was a Sweet 16 year with Mark Adams, right?
Yes, it was. And you beat. I think maybe it was like a South Dakota State or something. I think it's who you beat, and then you beat Notre Dame to advance to San Francisco to play Duke, who would eventually go do great things in that tournament. So yeah, a lot going on with that potential projection on. Been there before. You'd have a very, very familiar face that would be somewhat familiar with your roster and everything and your style and your coaching acumen and all that stuff on the other sideline of Matt Breyer in year one. So
Red Raiders know their way to San Diego. I know that.
I mean, it's Chamber of Commerce weather there, 365, folks.
Yeah, well, you and I both have enjoyed that city with many Red Raiders for different reasons over the years. Holiday Bowl, NCAA tournament. And beyond. So wouldn't mind that at all. We'll see how it shakes out. Back at it for the final go round in the LBK coming up, and looking forward to seeing how that shakes out. Chris will catch up on the other side to process it all. It's Horned Frogs and Red Raiders. We'll see you then.
Okay, sounds good. Looking forward to seeing everybody there. Yeah, senior day stuff starts at 5:30 tonight. Tip off at 6 o'clock. But this is it, man. In the USA, man. We will say sayonara to our lovely building this evening. But it's an important one. Speaking of the bracket, I think that the Lenardi had TCU as a 10 seed firmly in the field. So this is not going to be an easy one tonight.
Yeah, high stakes to say the least for the Red Raiders, the Horned Frogs both. This is March. This is the way we like it. All right.
We sleep in May.
And we appreciate you doing it every day. Thanks for always being along for the ride. And, of course, the Matador Mob, appreciate them for being out there. Our guy, John, and beyond. Hit our show notes and find a
link. Love you, John.
Yes, sir. To a free 14-day trial. That's your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks as always for the time. Hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.